Hello everyone, I'm Dr. Stock. This video is for entertainment purposes only. Today I am bringing to you, well, this is the first time for me, 10 different stocks in light of the infrastructure plan that we're supposed to hear some words about coming from Biden tomorrow. I'm pretty excited about it, so I picked out some ones that I think already started moving, but thanks to all the sell-offs that we've had recently, I still think that there's a lot of good deals to be found. So I'll present these to you. You guys can see what you think. Let's get ready to rock. Welcome back. For those of you who are interested, down in the description is a link to my Patreon. By going over there and signing up, you get access to my weekly newsletter that I put out, my weekly watch list of stocks that also includes some stocks submitted by the patrons, so all the stocks that we want to watch for the week, that goes out on the newsletter so that you can check those stocks out, the ones that I think are going to have some interesting activity, so you can pick through those, and also whichever ones the patrons say, you can also pick through those as well. My growth portfolio is over there, and I think coming into Q2 here, I think that we'll see some of the strength come back to that after all the sell-off with the tech stocks and the high growth stocks. The dividend portfolio, well, it's made of real rock stars when it comes to stability. So there's been some good growth in that. I built that one on February the 1st, and it's held pretty stable. It's actually gone up, and it stayed up. It never really came back down from where it was at. So I like that dividend portfolio that I put together. So that's also over there. We talk about stocks throughout the week and different things that we're interested in, and we bounce ideas off each other. There's definitely been plenty of times that the patrons who are in there, the community who's in there, besides the chatter about the stocks, they've also brought things to my attention, made some day trades out of it, made some longer term positions out of it. It's been really good, and they've also used some of my suggestions to point out some stocks. They've done the research and due diligence, and they made their decisions based on that. It's a good time. Like I said, I better move on. Also down in the description is the link to Webull. Sign up, deposit $100, you get 2 free stocks out of that. I get 2 free stocks for the referral. Thank you guys for any support that you show, and thank you for watching this video. If you like it, subscribe, hit the notification bell, hit the like button. Let's get on to the stocks. Alright, the first stock that I have for you is ChargePoint, and I've covered ChargePoint a whole lot. As a matter of fact, it's been all over YouTube. But you can see today we actually had a fairly large green candle compared to the other days that we had leading up to it. Let me turn off the moving average there. There we go. A little less distraction. So we had some strength come back in. As a matter of fact, all across stocks like this one, we saw some strength come back in today. And if we take a quick look intraday for ChargePoint, there we go. This is the 30-minute chart. Let me toss on the extended hours there. There we are. So we can see the climb up that we had. We had that steep ramp up there somewhere in the middle of the day, right around noon or so. Came ripping right back down, and then we went on this nice little steady climb from there. So I think these stocks are starting to react positively as we get into Q2, and also as we get into those infrastructure plays that we have coming up in anticipation of what Biden's going to tell us for the money that he intends to spend in order to bring to us all the different changes from throughout the United States. And so ChargePoint being the EV charging space, I think that we're going to hear something about EV charging infrastructure. So this is definitely a play that I like, and you can see from the daily chart that it's been really beaten up lately, and it is one of the leaders in the EV charging space. So this is one of the companies that I like. Another one for EV charging is Blink Charging, and you can see this one also had a sell-off. It wasn't quite as rocky. We're still down about 40% or so from where we're at the highs. So again, a nice strong day. You can tell this candle looking a lot like what we saw with ChargePoint. So we had the sell-off. This thing actually kind of has been trading a little bit better sideways, a little less volatile, at least in recent days, than what we saw with ChargePoint. So this is one to also keep an eye on as we get into those infrastructure. Really, depending on what Biden says tomorrow, EV charging could do very well for us if we get really strong news from that and really believable news, seeing how aggressive he wants to be with the infrastructure, how big the EV space is going to be in general. With that said, when we think EV, we think Tesla, especially here in the United States. I know that there's others around the globe that we have, but Tesla is one within the United States, and Biden is really big on bringing business, bringing work back to the United States, and really having a lot of sourced work and sourced companies from within the United States itself. So Tesla, I think, stands to gain pretty well, not only through its notoriety and its popularity that it has with its EVs. Don't forget that it also has renewables, that it also, it's in the solar space, it's in the battery space, and I think it stands to gain from those things as well as from the EV space as well. So Tesla, I think, we still have the chip shortage weighing on it, but still the infrastructure, the plan wouldn't even come through until either the fall or even the winter, I would say, would be the two earliest timeframes that we'd have for 2021. And so this is something that we have time to wait on, time to let it mature, but I think that we'll see some short-term gain within this, depending on other macroeconomic news that we have, especially good news about the semiconductor space and really getting those chips built up as we get past quarter two. Tesla's one that we want to keep on our minds. Also, based in the United States, fair amount of popularity, and especially with the summertime coming up with the launch of the commercialization of the Lucid Air. This is one that we want to keep our eyes on, and the price, it dropped ever since the official announcement came on, and it never really came back, but we also want to see this bottom line here, the area of support, 21.62-ish, so just above $20 to maybe $21 or $22. We're riding around that bottom, and we didn't really have a lot of significant volume or anything, but I think that we see this moving in sympathy with the rest of the market and the rest of the EV space, which today was a pretty good day for them overall. I think the summertime, when we hit launch and we see those numbers come out, and also if it goes along with infrastructure and this also being sourced within the United States, I believe Arizona is where their factory is currently being built. I think that this could also be a very good play for us for 2021 into 2022, along with that infrastructure package that's being presented. All right, Bloom Energy. I think this one will also stand to gain from infrastructure, so keep an eye on this one. You can see it's really sold off recently, so we're up at almost $45 down to almost $25. So that $20 difference, so again about a 40% drop, just like we saw before with, I think it was Blink Charging, was also about 40% down. Really, these prices make much more reasonable buys if it is something that we want to buy into. Bloom Energy here, I think, will offer us some of that. Plug has gone through a bit of a rough patch, hitting all the way up to 75.49, and that was back when, well, this sharp ramp up that we see here, this is when South Korea said that they were going to dump, I forget what it was, $1 billion or $10 billion in a partnership with Plug Power to really bring hydrogen power into our futures, bring it nearer term in its development. And then we had the sell-off with everything else, and then I think there was also some news about misreporting. I think that Plug was that company. But overall, I think in the hydrogen space, Plug is one of the leaders, and the fact that it's sold off like it has and we're back to these levels that we were at back in December, I think that we only stand to really gain from here, especially in the renewable space, as we have. SunPower. SunPower, I think, is going to be a runner for us. This is in the solar space, and you can see, again, that same green candle popping up. Today was just a good day in the markets, but after all the sell-offs that we've had, we could stand to have some good days, some recovery, and you really want to see us holding that bottom where we're at so far as we go through all of these tech plays, or these infrastructure plays as I'm calling them, because I believe that they are tied with the infrastructure bill that Biden will start talking about tomorrow. We really want to see that we're holding on to that bottom. We don't want to break where it's at. So the area of support here off the bottom of these most recent candles that we have all the way back from end of February or so, it looks like 29 all the way down to, if we go to the bottom of this one, 27.30. So we still have about $1.70 off the bottom of that, and we're currently sitting closing today at 31.52. So SunPower, one of those plays. There's more FSLR. So here's first solar, and you can see it's had a bit more of a recovery from this bottom that it had at 68.07. It hasn't come down to that bottom the way that SunPower has, so we have a little bit more recovery there, but this was up at one point before the sell-offs. We'll look at more of the range here, 97 up to about 108. So we still have a fair amount of upside. This one already sitting at 86. We could still go up easily 10% from here just to get back to those levels that we were at when we were trading about sideways across the top of this. So also in the solar space, we have Solar Edge, ticker symbol SEDG, and this one looks a little bit more similar to what we had for SunPower. So this one, you can look at those stock prices, 271, but it was up at 377. So we have about a 30% upside from where it's at now up to that top. I don't know that we'd retake that because the solar sector was so big coming through the pandemic and through the news of Biden taking office and all the other news for renewables. But after the rundown that it had, the infrastructure play, this might still really pan out for us. Sunrun also popular, and you can see this one again down about 40% or so. So you can see that same amount of drop that we have, and call it a crash with solar or with renewables in general. We've tempered our expectations, but now with that infrastructure play coming up throughout 2021, and as that news unfolds for who's going to benefit and where that money is going to come from and what all is going to be funded through the government funding, we'll watch that story play out, but this is just more to bring to your attention. For solar space in general, there's this ETF, so Invesco Solar, ticker symbol TAN, so TAN, well, suntan, that kind of goes together, that's nice. I think I realized that back in the day when I first read about them, but I always forget when I read about them again. I'm like, well, why'd they choose that ticker? And then I realized suns and tanning. Anyway, so again, you can see they traded a little bit in a range across the top here with that peak at 125.98. Now they're all the way back down around that $90. It would be nice to see us get back up to that bottom of this range. So about 10% to get there, and with the infrastructure coming out, if renewables are something that are really pushed and solar is really pushed, well, I think the solar space has a lot of opportunity, and TAN being an ETF would give you exposure to more solar companies, so it might help to manage that risk a little bit more from where we're at. As a matter of fact, this only dropped about $30 from its high down to where it closed at today, and that's less than that 40% like the others. So we don't see as much of a sell-off or as much of volatility as we had with some of the others. So just a little bit of risk safety that we find there, a little bit of risk management with an ETF versus going with individual companies. So I realized that I think by now I'm either at 10 or 11, but I wanted to toss that ETF in there. This last one that I have for you is CAT, ticker symbol CAT. It's the company's Caterpillar, and this would be a construction play. So figuring that construction would be a big part of filling out that infrastructure that we have, something to help build those different parts of the actual physical infrastructure that we have throughout the United States. CAT is a company that also stands to benefit, and you can see that the sell-off didn't affect construction because this would be more of a recovery play as well as an infrastructure play, so it kind of would be two wrapped in one. And from the analyst estimates on this one, I think we're above the average and we're above the low estimates. I think we're just below the high estimate, and I want to say that that's somewhere. There we are. So the analyst estimates, you can see we're already above the low estimate, the average estimate, and this is out of 25 different analysts. So we're already fairly far up there, but if we find out in the infrastructure package that there's going to be a whole lot more building out and more of their heavy-duty equipment's going to be needed and going to be used, we could find a little bit more upward pressure here to play. If nothing else, seeing this at least stabilize this would give us some stability that we would have and maybe some slower, steadier growth. We could, watch this as it plays out and see what exactly happens to the price and what happens with the infrastructure plan and the recovery plays. So CAT is just another company that I want to toss in there just for something different than EVs, EV charging, and then the renewables, including solar. So let me summarize. President Biden is expected to come out tomorrow and talk about his infrastructure plan, at least the first phase of it. And in that, we're hoping to hear about the different renewables or the different parts of the economy that would stand to benefit from that. So I have renewables, clean energy, EVs, EV charging, construction. So looking across those areas, the companies that I shared with you were ChargePoint and Blink out of EV charging, Bloom Energy and Plug, SunPower, First Solar, Solar Edge, Sunrun, and Caterpillar, and then I also tossed in the TAN ETF that we had that was for Invesco Solar. those are the companies that I expect to see good things from. You could tell in some of them from the charts that we had a lot of selling off, and it was really high up there compared to like the solar plays, the Russell 1000. I think that there was a 66% gain from the last 12 months, from like March 12th of last year to March 12th of this year in the Russell 1000, and solar was up over 200% from that time. So that's even after its sell-off. So we were still well ahead with the sell-off that we had, still ahead of the Russell 2000. I'm sorry, the Russell 1000. So this is something that you want to keep in mind when you look at these prices, that they have become more reasonable than what they were. There are more opportunities than what there were, but you're still going to have to pick through with your research and your due diligence to find the companies and the plays that you think are going to stand to benefit the most in a play like this with the infrastructure that we have. So keep an ear to the ground, read the stuff that comes out, watch what Biden has to say, and think about how that's going to play out throughout 2021, and as we pass that infrastructure bill, whatever happens to be in it, as it unfolds and as we move towards approval, and then we look into the actual phase, a lot of that stuff's going to be priced into the market already by the time the bill is passed. So we want to make sure that we're paying attention so we don't let the opportunities pass us by, and we would just want to be careful investors along the way. So that's what I have for you today. I hope that you liked the stuff that I had to talk about. I hope that I brought some companies to your attention that you weren't really thinking about as far as the infrastructure play goes. If you care to check out my Patreon, that link is down in the description. Also down in the description is that link for Webull. So if you need a trading platform, sign up, deposit $100, get your 2 free stocks. Thank you guys so much for all the support that you've shown and that you continue to show. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, hit the like button, share it with your friends. Remember, these videos are for entertainment purposes only. Always do your own research and due diligence. Contact a financial advisor before making any financial decisions. I'm Dr. Stock. Thanks for rocking with me. Now go get that money.